In this video, I'd like to discuss a mobile game that I think is criminally underrated. I am, of course, talking about Necromerger. So, what is it? Necromerger is a unique idle merge game with many qualities and gameplay mechanics to it that get more complex over time. As you can see in the background, the gameplay starts off simple. Merge a bunch of bones to make skeletons. But there's a catch. Every time you click the grave to make a bone, you use up mana, which is a resource at the top left. After you run out of mana, the only way to get more is through potions, tapping the Necromerger, or waiting. And that's where the game's idle mechanic comes into play. The more you wait, the more resources you come back to. To increase the amount of resources you can have at max, you must build mana wells, slime vats, and more, using the runes you've collected by killing the champions, such as the peasant. And that's the core gameplay mechanics of the early game. Merge, defeat champions, improve. But don't worry, it will get even better soon enough. But first, let me get to the other gameplay loop, quests. Quests are the main way you can improve your setup in this game, as they allow you to do things such as building graves, mana wells, shells, and much, much more. In order to complete these quests, or feats, as they're more accurately called, you'll unlock the ability to do something new. For example, as you saw earlier, I was able to upgrade my grave to a level 2 using a feat I completed, which allowed me to build more graves. That's right, even stations can be upgraded in this game. Doing so will unlock either the ability to summon new creatures from it, or it will make summoning old creatures easier. In this case, it makes summoning skeletons easier for me. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, what's that green thing back there? Well, that's the Devourer. In this game, the Necromerger is trying to grow his Devourer by feeding it minions. And the minions you must feed get more and more absurd as the game progresses. You can level up the Devourer by simply feeding it whatever minions you make, but there is a much faster way to level it up. Cravings. Cravings are shown at the top left of the screen, right under the mana and level up rewards, and feeding the Devourer whatever he craves will give you huge food bonuses. However, as the game goes on, the cravings get harder and harder to do, requiring you to strategize which cravings are worth your time to complete, or if you should instead focus on something else entirely. Also, to continue what I said earlier about resources, mana isn't the only resource in this game. There's also slime and darkness, too. As you can see, well, before I fed it to Devourer, I created a zombie. What zombies do, aside from being worth more food than a skeleton, is they produce an entirely new resource, slime. As you progress through the game, you must use the limited board space you have to carefully select which minions are worth keeping and which ones, well, are more worth yeeting into the mouth of the Devourer. I'm sorry, that was really bad. Alright, before I wrap up this segment about the early game, I still have one more thing to mention: currency and advertisements. At the top right-hand corner of the screen is your currency in this game, coins and gems. These allow you to buy a very large variety of things in the shop, such as stations, runes, and even skins for your Devourer and lair. For new players, I'd personally recommend working towards a skin. Lastly, the advertising. This game is extremely relaxed compared to most mobile games, as there are zero forced ads. That's right, none. While you can watch ads to do things like refill your resources and open chests, you don't have to. Better yet, if you got 10 bucks to spare, you can even remove the optional ads as well, which is something I really like about this game. Finally, after struggling for so long, you'll eventually reach the mid-game with tons of new challenges to boot and a brand new prestige mechanic. So, after long last, you've not only unlocked the time machine, but you're ready to prestige. With a heavy hand, you click accept and boom! You're back to square one, but with a new currency. This currency is called time shards, and they can be used to buy a wide variety of buffs to make the game even more complex and enjoyable. After you prestige, you unlock the Inventor's Store, where you can buy custom buffs for your game. On screen now is a minion called Servo, who, when unlocked after spending 500 time shards, allows you to boost any one resource cap of your choosing, making him very useful at all parts of the game. Not only can you unlock buffs by prestige, you can also unlock new Forgotten Minions. Forgotten Minions, while you can obtain them earlier in the game, start to get significantly better each time you prestige. With just your first prestige, you unlock access to the Kraken, Dragon, Revenant, and Banshee, all of which are extremely useful. And lastly, it's time for me to discuss the final segment, late game. After prestiging even more and prestiging countless times, you'll finally reach the end game. My god, look at that lair! So many legendary champions and stations. This is what Necromerger is truly about. Progress, admire your stunning progress, and then, reluctantly, prestige again! Some may find this gameplay loop lacking, but trust me, it is genuinely one of the most rewarding prestige systems I've ever seen in a video game. Not only do you unlock new stations, but you unlock new aliens as well. No longer will you be stuck with just a keeper and the inventor. Eventually, you'll have a whole army of them. A stylist, a dietitian, and even more. All with funny dialogue lines to boot. Seriously, even if you don't like prestige systems in video games, this game might just end up being an exception. Before I continue on to some miscellaneous things I like about this game, let me show you one thing else I like about it. The comedy. Here's an uninterrupted clip from when I unlocked the hacker. Before I end this video, there's one last optional gameplay mechanic I'd like to discuss. Events and relics. Events are, well, events that occur every now and then. During the whole year, there's 3 main events that last 3 days and have a 1-week cooldown. But the one in the background is the Christmas event called Slay Down. Slay Down is an event that occurs only once a year during, unsurprisingly, the month of December, and has exclusive rewards to it that can't be obtained from any other event. These events serve as optional content that can be played alongside the main game. Also, something to quickly note is that events are completely unaffected by the time machine, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Anyways, these main events function slightly differently than the main gameplay, as there's only 1 resource instead of 3. In this case, it's candy canes, which are used to buy stations, refill stations, and to get the lazy gardener to clear away debris that blocks a board. I mean, seriously, why did the Necromerger even hire this guy? The main reward that you get from these events is relics, and that brings me to my next point. In the vault, you are able to place your hard-earned event relics onto pedestals, and this allows for even more strategy. Some relics boost damage, some boost food or cravings, and some boost the speed of which champions spawn into your lair. Choose which relics are right for you and watch as they speed up your gameplay significantly. If you need to upgrade your relics, you can always wait a week for the next event to occur so that you can get more relics to upgrade the same relic. And so, I reached my final thoughts on the game. Overall, Necromerger is a brilliantly designed game that manages to have so many unique gameplay mechanics, despite its surprisingly simple premise. Necromerger is a game that isn't really mentioned all that much whenever mobile games are discussed, and I hope that changes soon, as this game is an absolute hidden gem of the Google Play Store. With all that said, what are you still doing here? Go play it already! If you watched this far, then chances are that you'll enjoy it.